Shanti, good morning. Just let us know if audio is okay. But this Murli was so powerful yesterday. This connection between recognition, faith, how real it is, Baba, to me, who he is. It's very much connected to how real I am as a soul. And all of that is connected to what is my sansar, my world, my reality. And that then connects to actually my vision of others. And so Baba talks about today so much of this recognition of who's teaching me. And this love for truth. And how just absorbing what Baba is teaching me, how that changes my intellect, increases my sensitivity of what is actually worth my time and what is not. Because today he is making this connection, this recognition of him in truth. And, my value of time, my value of using any facility, especially this aspect of, he's talking a lot about waste today, going into wasteful things. And so, where do I plug my intellect to? What is my recognition? And that increases as I continue in this study. And to begin with, there is this recognition that there's something very unique here with Baba, but I need to foster that. So it was interesting listening, I believe it was last evening, from Mohini Didi. And she was talking about this aspect about being trustworthy. So I think it was yesterday, maybe it was the day before, but this connection between trustworthy and truth. And I felt very much related because where there is accuracy, it's quite interesting. She was saying there's this accuracy is connected to also my loyalty to truth. And, where do I, because it's so much to do with how I see and my intellect. So do I go into lots of extraneous things? And she was sharing yesterday about this ability to trust somebody. Sorry, not even ability, but why would someone trust a particular instrument? And she was really connecting that to them staying with the truth. Basically, so much about the inside of what's going on. But very powerful listening to Baba, because there is an impact. Baba is saying that when your intellect is with Shiv Baba, even though Brahma is speaking, it continues to really fortify my incorporeal identity. And so much of our sense of self has been really colored by everything physical, facilities or people. And that has actually made my intellect very, very physical. And so this recognition of Shiv Baba teaching, it really makes the world of incorporeal come alive and really reinforces that. So it's interesting that Brahma Baba is also saying, have that awareness too. I'm not teaching you. Yes, I'm teaching you. I can also teach you, but Keep that consciousness of who is really teaching you. And ultimately, Baba's saying, because it's affecting our intellect. What is helping me? All still part of this aspect of moving us along to become soul conscious, fully aware I'm a soul. Essence, sweet children, don't spend your time, your invaluable time on wasteful matters. Become prosperous by having remembrance of the Father. So, sweet children, don't spend your invaluable time on wasteful matters. Become prosperous by having remembrance of the Father. So Baba will connect later on too. Prosper, comfort, our idea of what is comfort has become so distorted on the path of devotion. And it's become all about facilities, the weather, the mountains, nature, and what is really going to be helping the soul. Question, what advice do both Bap and Dada humbly give the children for their benefit? So what advice do both Bap and Dada humbly give the children for their benefit? Children, answer, children, always be aware that Shiv Baba is teaching you. Although Brahma Baba also teaches you, you only benefit by having remembrance of Shiv Baba. That is why this Dada is egoless and says, I do not teach you, only the one Father teaches you, so remember him alone. So that was the same with Mama. She was always given directions by Sakar Bab Dada. Do this with the children, help the children do this. And the children were always like, oh, Mama, you're amazing. So attracted because she's corporeal. But she kept saying, it's the Parlokik mother. Her intellect was always with Shiv Baba. Because in subtle ways, Baba says, we actually have instruments and facilities get in between me and him. And I'm not going to get what I am needing, me, the soul. So this is why this Dada is egoless and says, I do not teach you, only the one Father teaches you, so remember him alone. Only by remembering him, not me, will you become conquerors of sinful actions and your sins be absolved. So children, always be aware that Shiv Baba is teaching you, although Brahma Baba also teaches you. You only benefit by having remembrance of Shiv Baba. That is why this Dada is so egoless and says, I do not teach you. Only the one Father teaches you. So remember him alone. Only by remembering him will you become conquerors of sinful actions and your sins be absolved. Om Shanti. Your children are now sitting in front of the Father. It is definitely in the intellects of you children that the purifier, the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, the ocean of knowledge, is teaching you through this body of Brahma. So it's definitely in the intellects of you children that the purifier, the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, the ocean of knowledge, is teaching you through the body of Brahma. And Baba says you have to keep that attention through class, and how we forget. And Didi was sharing the other day, like, do you have that feeling Baba is personally speaking the Murli to you? Or does it sound like it's just words, or is it just the instrument speaking? Because it really affects the experience of what Baba is saying. Your intellects first go to your land of peace and then come down here. Shiv Baba has come into the body of Brahma in order to teach you Raja Yoga. The intellects of students are aware who is teaching them. So the intellects of students are aware who is teaching them. So I still have to have a relationship, all these different relationships with Shiv Baba through Brahma. When they go to school, they are aware that such and such a teacher is teaching, and they are aware of their names. They also see them with their eyes. So there's a recognition. It's a worldly one. What is my recognition? There are various spiritual gatherings that take place. There they say that a particular mantra, a particular Mahatma, great soul, is relating such and such a scripture. They relate various scriptures. You have been listening to them for birth after birth. Now, while sitting here, you remember Shiv Baba. You understand that your Baba, the purifier, is Shiva. He now comes and teaches you through Brahma. This Brahma is teaching you as well. If Brahma Kumaras and Kumaris can teach you, can Brahma too not teach you? However, you must have the consciousness that Shiv Baba, not Brahma, is teaching you. So, however, you must have the consciousness that Shiv Baba, not Brahma, is teaching you. There is benefit for you in this. This is known as the stage of humility. Bap and Dada are both egoless. This one himself, so Brahma Baba says, although I teach you, have the consciousness that Shiv Baba is teaching you. And the more and more that happens, then Baba can really take me home. And I remember Didi was even sharing that even when it's the experience of Bap Dada, all of those virtues, that beautiful stage, have that consciousness. It's Shiv Baba's stage you're experiencing. Because what we are doing is we have to marry virtues, everything that you can feel as a soul, back to being incorporeal. We've completely personified the body. We've personified physicality. And so we are so caught up in actions and everything that's so visible. So going home is really consciousness. It's not anything physical. So this one himself says, although I teach you, you have the consciousness. Shiv Baba is teaching you. The more you remember Shiv Baba, the more you will become conquerors of sinful actions. Because there is this connection between my world as an incorporeal being, and the more I can actually detach then from physicality, value basically in physicality. So we're so pulled by actions because it's so physical. Always think that Shiv Baba, the purifier, the ocean of knowledge, is teaching you. As much as possible, do not forget Shiv Baba. You are to claim the inheritance from him. Shiv Baba says, constantly remember me alone. He also tells the Brahma soul, you have to come to me. While sitting and moving, make effort to stay in remembrance. There's a great deal of income in this, and you will also have good health. So while sitting and moving, make effort to stay in remembrance. So it's still Shiv Baba that I need to learn to experience, but this is why it's so essential, Baba says, that our practice of soul consciousness must continue to refine, to experience that I, the incorporeal soul, am moving with this body. Because I can't relate to Baba, when I'm body conscious. He's just a concept. He's just a point of light. I, as a soul, don't feel very living. It's still, it's all about all these relationships and the physical. So there's a great deal of income in this, and you will also have good health. Don't ever waste time. Hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. Only speak of things of knowledge and yoga. Do not speak of anything useless. It's interesting what Baba says next. If there is no knowledge, there is definitely ignorance. So hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. Only speak of things of knowledge and yoga. Do not speak of anything useless. If there is no knowledge, there is definitely ignorance. They will continue to gossip, but you must never listen to such things. And it's just basically anything that's not going to be beneficial for me, the soul. And that's something that actually requires, sensitivity of the intellect. And that refines as I continue to study. Because you can sort of say, oh, I'm not supposed to talk about this or that, but it is really a function of the intellect to really sense, what is useful, what is not. If anyone speaks about wasteful matters to you, you understand that that one is your enemy. So it's just basically just become cautious at that time. Time is wasted by listening to wasteful matters. The Father says, don't listen to such wasteful things. Sometimes Baba says, listen through one ear and let it out the other. Some will defame others. Some will say wrong things about others. This is why you are told never listen to, nor speak of such things. Those who do not have knowledge speak in that way and cause harm. This is why, as explained again and again, keep busy doing service. The more you explain these pictures to others, the more knowledge you will imbibe. So this is why it is explained again and again, keep busy doing service. That so much of it is also, what am I thinking about? What am I thinking about? Keep busy doing service. The more you explain these pictures to others, the more knowledge you will imbibe. And there was something in Mohini Didi said that was very powerful. She was saying, even if it feels like you're just, you're saying it in your head and it just feels like it's kind of intellectual, don't stop thinking the way Baba has taught us to think, because it just needs time to sit inside and absorb. But it is transforming me. So I felt that it was very much part of this why she's at this stage where she can't, well, of course it's accumulation of yoga, but it's all of it. And she's also taking care of how she thinks. So while sitting here, look at these pictures and think, this is Shiv Baba and this is Dada. We receive the inheritance through this one, and this impure world is then destroyed. You can entertain yourself with such thoughts. This is better than gossiping, otherwise you become sinful souls. The Father says, children, do not become sinful souls. Those who listen to the news of the world and who relate such things as so-and-so is like this, or they do this, waste time needlessly. You are becoming very prosperous. You're becoming the masters of the world. Bharat was definitely very prosperous. It has now become ruined. You're now becoming prosperous through the Father. It's very easy to remember the Father and the world cycle. No one knows about this confluence age. Everyone in the Iron Age is impure, whereas everyone in the Golden Age is pure. The Father says, I come at the confluence of every cycle in order to purify the impure ones. There are also sinners such as Ajamil. This is a world of sin, a world without comfort. The world of pure charitable souls is a world of comfort. No one else can explain these things. Where comfort can be attained is not in the intellect of anyone. So the world of pure charitable souls is a world of comfort. No one can explain these things. Where comfort can be attained is not in the intellect of anyone. And so even our ideas of what is comfortable has become really distorted. Some find the mountains, beautiful weather is very comfortable. But, as there is actually increasing disinterest, when you recognize what is the truth. And even before Baba found us, we all have disinterest, yes, to varying degrees. But, what exactly is really going to fill me and feed me? And when you actually let yourself go there, say, oh, that's a dead end, that's a dead end. And that's a part of, churning. Baba says churning is important. Knowledge is important. Remembrance is essential. But in a sense, you're always just being very clear, is that really going to take me somewhere? You explain that there is happiness in the land of happiness. There is this is a world of sorrow. And even though people have built huge palaces, all of those paths make you impure. So dead ends. But again, it's for one's self to recognize that. You can't really convince someone unless they see that themselves. Otherwise, why would Bharat be in such a degraded state of degradation? Only the one Father brings about the stage of ascent. All others make you fall. This has to be understood clearly. There is no question of blind faith. If a teacher says, I teach you to become a BA, it cannot be a lie. The Unlimited Father says, I teach you easy Raja Yoga and make you into the kings of kings. I make you the kings of heaven. The contrast between the kings of heaven and the kings of hell is like that of day and night. Those who become kings and queens in hell do so by giving donations, performing charity. They receive temporary happiness. The kings and queens of heaven are created by them studying. So Baba has said that originally a true king was a bestower. Our concepts of what a king is right now is completely upside down. It's because, of course, it's the Iron Age, but what is a king really like? It's all from the inside out. Baba is saying, you also understand what Baba's plan is to change the entire world, a land of sorrow, into a land of happiness and peace. You know that Bharat was a land of happiness, and that at that time all other souls were in the land of peace. Everyone is now in the land of sorrow, but we will later go to the land of peace and then to the land of happiness. Those who study Raja Yoga are the ones who go to the land of happiness, while all others will settle their karmic accounts and return to the land of peace. No one in the world knows what the land of peace and the land of happiness are. This Baba says, I too did not know. The one who was himself the master had forgotten. And so, what would anyone else know? According to the drama, all have to descend. It is now the time to ascend once again, the Father says. I have come to take everyone back to the land of peace and send them to the land of happiness. Many will come to you. They will say, we want peace of mind. No one can talk about the land of happiness. So for them, it's just wanting some liberation. Sannyasis belong to the path of isolation, so they can never show anyone the path to happiness. Just as the Father has mercy by taking these souls to the land of peace and the land of happiness, in the same way, you children should feel that you have to give the Father's introduction. So just as the Father has mercy by taking these souls to the land of peace and the land of happiness, in the same way, you children should feel you have to give the Father's introduction. There is definitely a correlation between one's own sense of fullness and to be able to feel the pulse of others. So for those who had a chance to listen, Mohini Didi was sharing Bapdada's signal yesterday when she offered Bog. We need to really practice that stage of being a detached observer. And that stage of being a detached observer enables me to actually be able to bestow. So even that stage of being a detached observer, what does that experience feel like so that it's actually accurate? The people of Bihar should definitely receive the inheritance from the Father. Why are we in hell? We were the ones in heaven and we are now in hell. However, people do not understand these things at all. Maya has locked their intellects so completely that they are not even able to understand such an easy thing. Since God is the creator of heaven, surely we should be the masters of heaven. We are no longer that because it is the kingdom of Ravan. This kingdom of Ravan is now about to be destroyed, and the same Mahabharat war is standing just ahead for this. It is very easy when this sits in their intellects, but because it does not sit in their intellects, they keep gossiping among themselves and wasting time. So Baba is making that connection of what I'm absorbing is actually also affecting my capacity to recognize what is actually useful and what is not. So it's very easy when this sits in their intellects. The kingdom of Ravan is about to be destroyed, and the same Mahabharat war is standing just ahead for this. But because it does not sit in their intellects, they keep gossiping among themselves and wasting time. You must not allow yourselves to listen to such things. You must remain busy with your studies, for only then will you claim a high status. Good students in a school study very well. During the days of their examinations, they especially go into solitude to study in order not to fail. Those who fail continue to stumble. The father says as much as possible, stay in remembrance of the one father. As soon as a girl gets engaged to her future bridegroom, that becomes imprinted. Acha, if a woman gets married today and her husband dies tomorrow, she continues to remember him for the rest of her life. However, those husbands make you impure. The father says, I make you into the masters of heaven, so how much should you remember such a father? Maya will try very hard to break your yoga, but you must be very courageous. Your thoughts will bring many storms that would not have come even when you didn't have knowledge. Herbalists say that all the sickness will emerge, but you must not be afraid. You must not be afraid and start taking other medicine. So that's actually not even just a physical thing. To really stick to, this is the only solution for me, the soul. So in subtle ways can I see if any of that ever is happening inside? So herbalists say that all the sickness will emerge, but you must not be afraid. You must not be afraid and start taking any other medicine. It's more of a sign of faith, recognition. What traces of doubt still remain? No, Baba also says, do not be afraid. Many storms will enter your minds, but do not perform sinful actions with your sense organs. Speak knowledge to one another and bring benefit to one another. Baba explains you must remain intoxicated. Open a Gita Pashala in your home. Charity begins at home. Enable your children to become the masters of heaven. A man takes a wife and creates children with her in order to give them happiness. You also understand you are earning an income for the future, so why not enable your wife and children to do the same? So that can be a physical thing, but it's also something more subtle, the dynamics inside. Tell them again and again, by all means, continue with your business, etc., but simply continue to remember the Father. This practice should be instilled to such an extent that at the end, at the time of destruction, only one Baba is remembered. The Father says, all of you are now in your stage of retirement. Everyone has to go back with me. I have come to take you back. Your wings are broken. Sannyasis cannot remember the Father. They remember the Brahm element. So that was really powerful, Baba had said the other day. It's like, how do you remember the sky? It's just an element. And, this, and so many have so much yoga with nature, and it actually greatly affects the intellect. And of course, to be able to sense, Baba is a living being, having to restore that life is in that stage of being incorporeal. Baba says it's not a small thing. So sannyasis cannot remember the Father, they remember the Brahm element. Yes, those who belong to the deity religion will accept all of this and begin to remember Shiv Baba. You cannot become a deity without first becoming a Brahmin. This is the somersault of the different castes. You belong to the Shudra clan. You belonged to the Shudra clan, but you have now become Brahmins through Brahma and are claiming the inheritance from the grandfather. You have changed from Shudras into Brahmins. You will later become the masters of the world. Brahmins are the most elevated. Brahmins are the top notch. We play the game of somersaulting. We receive this knowledge of 84 births in a second. They go on pilgrimages while playing the game of somersaulting. They give so much importance to that. They go with such feelings. However, nowadays they drink alcohol, etc. And even when they go on a pilgrimage, they hide a bottle in their pocket out of habit. Baba has experienced all of those things. Baba has taken a completely experienced chariot. The Father says to this one, you have adopted many gurus and attended many spiritual gatherings, but now forget everything. Now listen to what I am telling you. God spoke to Arjuna, but this is in fact the chariot. Shiv Baba is the charioteer in the chariot. All of you are Arjuna. However, there is no question of horses and chariots, nor is there any question of any army. That is the path of devotion, and this is the path of knowledge. The department of devotion is completely separate. Only the one Father gives knowledge, all others are devotees. Souls of all human beings of the world say, "O God, the Father." Souls understand that He is the Father of souls. They know they have a Laukic Father. So why do they not remember Heavenly God the Father? Why do they only remember Him at a time of sorrow? The Father says, I give you so much happiness and peace that I'm the one who is remembered at times of sorrow. So the Father says, I give you so much happiness and peace that I am the one who is remembered at times of sorrow. So souls do have this memory of that final liberation or liberation in life. That's why we remember Him when things are at a point where you just know there's no one else who's going to be able to help you. So you should talk about things of knowledge among yourselves. You must also go to your friends, relatives, and officers. Stay in connection with everyone. You must give them a donation of the jewels of knowledge with great tact. So you must also go to your friends, relatives, and officers. Stay in connection with everyone. You must give them the donation of the jewels of knowledge with great tact. You should also go to weddings for the sake of doing service. So it's interesting, to be able to constantly see every opportunity as service and not for any sort of other desires. Again, Baba had talked about the other day about a serviceable soul is thinking about service all the time. So what's required to be a serviceable soul? You are the incognito in non-violent army. You cannot commit any kind of violence. You must not cause sorrow. Acha to the sweetest beloved, long lost and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning from the mother, the father, Bap Dada. The spiritual father says namaste to the spiritual children, and the spiritual children say namaste to the spiritual father. The essence for dharana number 1, in order to claim a high status, remain busy with your studies. Don't listen to wasteful things. Do not waste your time. So in order to claim a high status, remain busy with your studies. Don't listen to wasteful things. Do not waste your time. Number 2, give knowledge and bring benefit to one another. Do not perform any sinful actions with your sense organs under the influence of your mind's storms. So give knowledge and bring benefit to one another. Do not perform any sinful actions with your sense organs under the influence of your mind's storms. And the blessing. May you use your birthright of all powers all the time and for all tasks as a master almighty authority. All the powers are the Father's treasures, and you children have all rights to them. So this is why the more we experience being soul conscious, we can relate to Baba as a soul. And the more we do that, actually, it even feels that these capacities, they feel very real. So become who has a right, can use these things as he wishes. In the same way, when you have a right to over all powers, you will be able to be a number one victorious soul. So check whether every power is useful at a time of need. Use your powers in every situation with a right. When you practice over a long period of time, using the powers that are your creation, you'll be called a master almighty authority. So there's that key phrase again, over a long period of time. So may you use your birthright of all powers all the time and for all tasks as a master almighty authority. All the powers are the Father's treasures, and you children have all rights to them. Become one who has a right and use those things as he wishes. In the same way, when you have a right over all powers, you will be able to be a number one victorious soul. So check whether every power is useful at a time of need. Use your powers in every situation with a right. When you practice over a long period of time using the powers that are your creation, you'll be called a master almighty authority. And the slogan, a great task is only possible with everyone's zeal and enthusiasm. So a great task is only possible with everyone's zeal and enthusiasm. Shanti, and we have the signals. So these are conversations that Baba had with Mama. Shiv Baba placed the urn of nectar on Mama's head. Mama became an instrument to imbibe it and then relate it to us. However, Mama always used to say it was Pita Prasad, a holy offering from the Father. I'm sharing with you what I've received from the Father. I'm sharing with you what I have imbibed in myself. This is why there is sweetness in her words and honesty sparkling on her face. The more honesty and purity we have, the more sweetness there will be. If there is the slightest impurity or the slightest feeling of defamation for another in our mind, then our words will become bitter. So Shiv Baba placed the urn of nectar on Mama's head. Mama became an instrument to imbibe it and then relate it to us. This is about the knowledge which she imbibed. However, Mama always used to say it was Pita Prasad, a holy offering from the Father. So it's very connected to Baba's Murli today. I am sharing with you what I've received from the Father. I'm sharing with you what I have imbibed in myself. This relationship she had with Baba as a student. This is why there's sweetness in her words and honesty sparkling on her face. The more honesty and purity we have, the more sweetness there will be. If there's the slightest impurity or slightest feeling of defamation for another in mind, then our words will become bitter. So these are Avyak signals for July. Become brahmachari, one who follows the activities of Father Brahma. The aim of each child is to be complete like Father Brahma. So according to the aim, fill yourself with all qualifications and become complete. For this, a special dharana is always to be brahmachari, that is, celibate, and always uplift others. And so Baba is not really actually talking about the superficial celibacy. He's talking about this deep sense of purity at all levels. So the aim of each child is to be complete like Father Brahma. So according to the aim, fill yourself with all qualifications and become complete. For this, the special dharana is always to be brahmachari, that is, celibate, and always uplift others. Om Shanti. So it's lovely if we just go straight to that quiet time with Baba, absorb what he has shared, what he has said to us today. Shanti. Shanti. If there's anything that souls wish to share.
Om Shanti.
Shanti.
Today's Baba's Murli. It is so much beneficial for us that Baba makes us understand what is beneficial for the soul and what is not. And do I really imbibe the knowledge when Baba says only, through my activities where my interest is and what I would like to do, my preferences, choices of action. It is so much colored by how much have I imbibed the knowledge, because everything I do, there is my attitude, what I like to do, and what I'm, like if knowledge is in my intellect, so in everything I do, there is a feeling of sharing, service, and it comes naturally that I should go and explain or anything through my taking care of my own action and my behavior. Everything reflects on what I am doing, and so really need to check that how much have I been colored by the truth, what Baba is telling me. And after understanding that so much I'm benefiting from what Baba is telling me, and by remembering him, the incorporeal being, and why I am studying, why I am here, and am I clear about my aim and objective all the time. So it's when I know that, when if my intellect is wandered outside the world, outside, then what consequence, and is the soul benefiting from that? So knowing the difference of where I plug in my intellect, definitely if I plug in outside, there is sorrow, full of sorrow, and it's a perishable, temporary. There's nothing, there is no essence left in this old world. So if I have that clarity in my understanding, then everything, all my activities is getting shifted, away from those useless thing, and which I find no essence of all. And then slowly align myself towards what is beneficial for me, the soul. So to have that clarity is so important. Still, if I feel like I'm also getting from outside, trying to get there, still desires, vices pulling me, then Baba says about then you'll indulge in gossip and all. So it really shows what kind of activities I'm involved in, based on how much have I imbibed the knowledge. So on also checking in myself, if still my activities are a little bit off, getting from outside, then somewhere I have to understand that somewhere there is still lacking to fulfill myself from Baba. So I have to be very careful that am I receiving only from the truth, not having a desire to even fill my intellect with something which is perishable, something not very useful for me, the soul, in this part of becoming completely pure. So purity is in everything I do. And even Baba today talked about, just talk the speak, knowledge, and discussing among each other, reminding, especially I think reminding of why I am here is so important. Otherwise sometimes I might get distracted with something very at that moment, and always aligning myself that what is my end object. I'm here to become pure, to return home, and then and why I'm studying here. And then I should feel that so much fulfillment of whatever I'm receiving from Baba. So today's Baba's with that authority, and that's telling us what is beneficial for the soul. So incorporeal part, remembering myself, that who is teaching me, the incorporeal one, I, the soul, incorporeal being, listening and imbibing. That's so important to remember as well. Shanti.
Shanti. I was thinking about that transition that we are making. Just 1 second. That transition of the world of being a soul. There was moments yesterday where it's just you just feel like that's your only world, and when you're in that experience, it's like your priority is you, and your sensitivity of what actually is going to protect that, and becomes very, very clear. And I could just really, appreciate during those pockets of moments why Baba's saying you really need to practice soul consciousness. I could really also feel that relationship with, how real I, the soul, feel I am whilst in the body. That when you see others as souls, it protects your stage of soul consciousness, but also the experience of seeing others as souls becomes more and more real. It's not just something that's conceptual, but it's something that actually, Baba says, from your heart. But it's nothing emotional, romantic. It's just like, what is real for ourselves. And so, just when you were sharing with this whole aim objective, I was really thinking about that as well. Having to check in constantly about what is my purpose, because it's so easy to forget. But we have all come to Baba. We were looking for something, and being so clear about that, and having to stay vibrant and being clear about what that is so important as well. There was a soul that I was speaking to, and when it comes to, what am I supposed to do with my future? Like, should I continue this job? And should I, and she wasn't even asking me. It was just, she was just having this conversation out loud kind of a thing. So that's another thing. You're just sort of being a witness and sort of just supporting them to be able to have an internal and appreciative inquiry where they eventually will need to certainly check in with themselves what is useful, because the soul has already taken knowledge, but you can't, it's not useful telling the soul, it's, destruction's coming, and we're all becoming deities. And I think it's interesting, but was saying, share knowledge in a tactful way, but it really feels like, constantly, yes, encouraging souls that's, take the time to have that quiet time, because that silence is very important to be able to have clarity. And it was just completely feeling this morning that it's natural for the soul, me, the soul, and for every soul, that they want purity. It's just that there's just so much noise from all the vices. So it really felt like today, but was not blaming anyone at all in terms of us engaging in any sense of stuff that's actually not useful, but that we've just actually become quite numb to what is actually beneficial for ourselves. And so, even on a very physical level, someone, that you've heard of, those who, in places where there's famine, and they haven't physically even fed anything to the body for a long time, the first thing that happens to treat malnutrition is not to start to feed them lots of food. The first thing in terms of malnutrition, dehydration, is they need like an IV drip, just, drop by drop. The body is just trying to transition to get some nutrients. If you start to give the body lots of water or lots of food, the body will go into shock. And so it just feels like Baba is constantly just dropping, accumulation of that which is real, that which is true. But our job is really to keep that so vibrant of what really matters, because there could be, the body can reject at any time on the physical level. So that gradual, how to foster and take care of this journey of accumulation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like a process, a journey, like each time, every day. And that is why I feel so much important to maintain this discipline, sustaining every day, because it's not about like the whole, okay, for 8 hours I sit down and have yoga and read Murli completely, and then I will be full. Not like that. So it's like a drop by drop every day,
Yeah.
Baba, and then trying to at least just find a point to have that, like why Baba is saying like that, what is, benefit for that, slowly, and then that I think that beauty of the truth, and then soul understanding the benefit, slowly, like aligning to that and getting prepared to align myself. Firstly, maybe there might be rejection that I have so much habits, and all things. So why should I want to change? But then only when I feel understanding that this is for my own benefit, then there is love for whatever Baba is saying, understanding such a beneficial, the benefactor, whatever he is saying is so much, like benefit for me, the soul. So when I start understanding, slowly accepting my intellect that, okay, I accept what Baba is saying, or, when there's more faith, experimenting, in every situation slowly, so that's when I feel, more and more faith in the intellect also comes. And Baba talked about faith yesterday. I was, thinking when Baba says, um, you know you are child of Shiv Baba, if how much faith do I have? So I can say that I have faith, but then what is my activity? How is my thinking? Do I still think in a body conscious way? Then that means there's still, there's no understanding, because Shiv Baba, who is Shiv Baba? Shiv Baba is incorporeal. And then whatever, my thoughts, if I'm still thinking I'm body consciously, then I'm not understanding Shiv Baba again, So I was really reflecting on, do I really have faith? Do I really have faith? Do I understand, I'm child of Shiv Baba? Then what? Then what what should be my thoughts? And who is Shiv Baba? What are his attributes? So just aligning with him as my father. So as a child, what I'm supposed to be doing. So it's and what I'm receiving from him. If I'm like my father, then how is my my behavior and my thoughts, quality of that. So it's really made me think that how much faith do I have that I'm child of Shiv Baba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it certainly feels like it has to feel very real. If it doesn't feel very real, then for many births, Baba, it's not like, for many births, we've just made Baba very conceptual. This is the whole thing about the whole Brahm element thing. And, it's, everyone has different experiences for sure. But I remember when I was this is before Baba found me, like I didn't really actually, I don't know, maybe it was just disinterest, but when I would go into nature, it was, I didn't really feel that it had anything to do with God, right? And in fact, I felt like nature had a very ominous feeling. It actually made, it was even before Yen, it just felt lonely, actually. It just felt like very impersonal, I suppose you can say, right? And so very liberating when Baba teaches about what exactly, you've made God omnipresent, because at least it tried to make it feel like he's accessible. But right now he helps us to understand. One time he had shared that, love is probably the most universal virtue out there that everyone loves, that souls equate love with God, right? So any kind of love. So that's a part of the whole omnipresence, and feels like nature is another one of those things where we just equate nature to be God. And there's a soul that I know that she has retired now, but she would, very lovely soul, lovely heart, but when she comes to work, and after a while, it just becomes overwhelming. She's like, oh, I gotta go on vacation. So she goes on these lovely nature treks. I mean, like the things that she says that she does, it's fascinating. It sounds very exciting, yes. But then it's only temporary, because she comes back, and very shortly she becomes very overwhelmed at work, right? Mm-hmm. How much is a soul able to start to recognize again? It's in their part where it's like, I'm tired of swinging from one end to the other end. There's this other soul I'm sharing. She comes, Nora, I'm going on vacation. It's like, and then it's like, I'm so excited. And then I'm like, that's great, Phyllis. Like, and I hope it's very rejuvenating. She comes back, Nora, I am so tired. It's like, one day, Phyllis, if you feel like you want to stabilize, just let me know. Maybe you might find that meditation is very helpful. She's, yeah, I'll let you know if I'm interested. A soul has to be interested in. We're just joking, but after a while, internally, a soul will feel that they're just tired of fluctuating. And that's when a soul isn't like, oh, I want meditation, but the soul is actually going to feel that there's something that I'm missing. And what is it that I need to look for to help me so that I can actually stabilize? So, thank you, Jima Ben. Are there any other sharings from souls at all? Linda Ben, lovely to see you, Sister Rosario. Richard.
Shanti. Also a beautiful Murli, and
Om
today's
Shanti. Linda Ben, you may have
Shanti.
to come closer.
Okay.
I'm not actually, there's no one by the computer, so I'm happy to go there and listen, but
Is that better?
I can sort of hear, yes. Mhm.
Okay. I'm trying to see, is there something that,
Here, give me a second. Go ahead.
Om Shanti, Baba's blessing today. The last sentence of it has have been churning that, and for some reason, all this time, I haven't considered it the way Baba says it today. Using the powers that are your creation, you'll be called a Master Almighty Authority. And so, learning about the powers, studying them, but when they are considered to be your creation, it puts it into a completely different realm of experience. And the realization that they're only going to be powerful, those powers, when they have an understanding of power itself, of using the power, so the source of the power. And so today we'll be churning on this blessing. Om Shanti.
Just reminded, listen to you share. Souls can hear me. I hope it's not too loud. Okay. This relationship between father and child, student, teacher and students, and guide, and I guess you can call it a pupil or a disciple, I suppose. But I don't even remember. Maybe it was just a memory from 5,000 years with Baba. But spending enough time with Baba that you become so familiar with his capacities and you use them, that you have a capacity to actually wield that power. And that was something that really stayed with me a few weeks ago. But that relationship between those two beings, whether it's father, child, teacher, student, guide, and disciple, but becoming familiar with what their world is really like reminded me of your sharing, reminded me so much about the blessing. And there was a soul that I knew, this is around the time that Baba found me, but she was actually well known for her humor. She was just, I think she was a new soul because we didn't really have anything in common. We still got along, but we were just completely worlds apart. But she was well known for just being so, well, with her circle of friends, for just her humor. Anyways, I think I spent too much time with her because her character kind of colored me. And I ended up meeting a soul at another place at Lockett Work. And it was funny because he said, Nora, you remind me of a friend of mine named Lana. And that was exactly who it was I was spending a lot of time with. But somehow they actually knew each other. And it was fascinating because I had just come to Baba, right? Just took the course, right? And but it really stayed with me because it's like, I can't believe these two souls actually know each other. First of all, I didn't even know they knew each other because I knew them from completely different places. But even at that time, it was planting a seed, like where it's like now it's like, I don't want to be like any human being. We all want to be like Baba. But can you imagine that, to be like Baba, where someone says, you remind me of God. I think of God when I think of when I see you. That is exactly, this is how we reveal Baba. It's actually, we spend enough time with them, healthy time, that we will be able to use his capacities. Mhm.
I just wanted to share one thing yesterday. I was just listening to one of the discussion about Baba's Avyakta Murli. One of the Murli in that Baba says, this is the only time in this conference is right that we are experiencing as a soul, being a soul. And then Baba talked about one day there will be a time when when the destruction or things are too much in chaos. So at a time, even if you try, I am a soul, I'm a soul, and then you'll not have any experience. And that made me so much, like feel like, oh, right, that's right. Whatever time I have right now, if I accumulate that the power of being, experiencing myself as a soul, being detached, what is incorporeal, what is bodiless, whatever stage that I need to experience now, this is only the time. And one day when suddenly things happen, if I don't have any long, term experience of experiencing myself as a soul, then at that time, even if I want, it's not going to happen. So Baba was cautioning that time you will keep saying, I am a soul, I am a soul, and nothing will happen. So that made me really realize that, you know, it is so much true. Even if I want, I won't have that stage at that time and it would not be useful. So
Mhm. It reminds me when Baba says, that's why this is a journey from Gyan to Vigyan, right? Is that even for us to even have the sensitivity that, we're trying to actually experience what that feels like. So to the point where you don't even have to say it anymore to yourself, but it's because you've gone into that experience. Because right now, I'm sure, whatever body conscious identity we had, that we didn't have to repeat that to ourselves while we're walking down the street, right? But we completely embodied it, for, even like Lakhic work, right? I was thinking about, for those who become doctors or nurses, they don't have to tell themselves, but they've actually absorbed that identity. And so they're in these positions. But something Baba actually said, I remember he was saying, so you first start with that I am a soul, and I am a soul. Then you start to experience that. But then there comes a point in time where it's like you don't even have that thought. It's just that I am in that experience. But I was thinking about what you were sharing about, because reminds me so much about CPR class. I'm not sure if souls had to ever take that, but at least it's required that we take it once a year. I have no idea how you transfer these skills at a time of emergency, because I was on the plane one time. I was very young again. I don't even know if I finished. No, I must have. No, did I think I finished nursing. So I was maybe after 1 year. And so I was with my Luckic sister on this plane to Spain, but her final practicum was in pediatrics, intensive care. And so it's an intense unit. And so she learned to her very bones having to take care of patients who were, in that state of emergency constantly. So anyway, so I just started working in children's cancer, and she had already been there for 2-3 years, already had this wealth of experience in pediatric intensive care and all these other things. So a lot of training where you don't think a lot anymore. And we were on the plane, and someone, you can hear there's someone announcing on the PA system, is there a nurse or a doctor on the plane? Right. And, we were probably the only ones who had put up our hand because nobody else did. But there was somebody who was in medical distress, and they needed to be able to be on the phone with the physician and take orders and to do things. I was not of any use to that soul because it's like, I don't know how to do an IV. I'm like very, very new. Everything was completely textbook. But for the Lukic sister, it's like, okay, run an IV. Okay, so, do this, check this, because, they've practiced enough times. And I really, really appreciated that. Like, you don't have time to look at a textbook. She's exactly as you're sharing. We really need to be practicing. And it has to come to a point where you actually experience yourself that you are separate from the body. You experience, and this is what the whole thing is. You practice now. Like, what does it feel like to be a being of peace? What does it feel like to be a being of light? What does it mean to detach and feel that I am separate from the body? And as it gently moves from something intellectual to something that more and more is a feeling, and which is why Didi was sharing yesterday. She's sharing what Baba says. Sometimes it's very real, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes it's not. So what can we be practicing with consistency in the midst of all these storms that come up? Mm-hmm. But it's true what you're sharing, Jima Ben. Linda Ben.
Om Shanti. In the next hour and a half, we'll be in a 4-hour CPR course.
Oh, you are? Yeah, that always comes to mind. I'm like, I don't know how I'll remember this next year.
have been in an experience in a young age as a lifeguard where that was necessary, and just remember was in a state of fog around it, trying to let that emerge, the lessons behind that. And so this time, coming from a more experience, it'll be of greater value. But having had an experience where it needed to be applied, I think that will be beneficial also. And so I think Baba gives us experiences of where to be soul conscious is a benefit too with our exams. So Om Shanti.
Shanti, yeah. It definitely needs to go into our sun scars, basically. All right. If there's any other sharings, otherwise, we just lost Linda Ben. But so tomorrow, for those who plan to be going, is the pancake event. So 11 to 3 o'clock. I think the registration is still open. So I wish they register and they have not yet. But I don't think there's any other announcements. Oh, yes, there is. If you have not checked your email yet, right now we are experimenting with Murli at 6 o'clock on Saturdays. So Amravela transmission still starts at 3:30. The Avyakt signal, the Avyakti Parvar signal is read at 4 o'clock. But Murli class, we will start at 6 o'clock on Saturdays, and we'll see just for a while to see how that is. And I suppose we'll reassess. Sundays are still the same time at the Northeast Center, 6:30, when meditation starts. So if you have any questions, just let us know.
So Noraben, maybe the day before, you and Judivan will leave on that Thursday itself, probably we can just one more time announce for the next days. Murli we will be joining Chicago family.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'll definitely make sure we send that along. But we'll also have some other systems in place. If souls don't actually catch that, they'll still be able to come to Murli. But mainly the timing will be the same, at least 6 o'clock. So thank you. Yes, we'll send that out for sure. All right, we'll just have a moment of silence. Om Shanti.